Everyone, and welcome to the 61st episode of Battles and Voices. I'm Latika, and I'm the founder and host. Battles and Voices brings together people with different experiences in healthcare to share their stories with the world. Please welcome our guest.
Hi, my name is Jonah. I'm Haiti. I'm from a family of six. My father joined the U.S. Navy when I was about 5 years old, and we left Haiti. Lived in a couple different places. I ended up graduating high school in Italy, and I went to Colgate University for undergrad, where I was a chemistry major and a track and field athlete. Now I'm at Northwestern. I'm actually a fourth year medical student, and I am currently applying into radiology, waiting for match day.
It's amazing. So, Jonah, thank you so much for being a part of today's episode. It truly means a lot for us to have you on Battles and Voices today. So, starting off with our very first question, can you tell us a little bit about what inspires you to go into healthcare and currently what you do?
Yeah. So my mother deals with some chronic illnesses. And I think like any child, you have a deep desire to want to help your parents when you see them suffering. So around the age of 8, I'd already started thinking, well, what can I do to help, release some of that weight on my mother's like responsibilities? How can I help her get better? And I started doing research. What are some careers that can help me get some financial backing so that I can give my mother and my family the life that I think they deserve? So like just for context, like we come from a low income background. And I eventually came across being a physician and all the things that it meant. And I just think that it aligned with who I was as a person, the the output I wanted to have in the world. And it also, like a thought in my mind was I can help people like my mother, give them back their agency so that they can live the lives that I think everyone deserves to live, to have choice and health and being able to move your body the way that you want to is a privilege that I think some of us take for granted. And it gives you a lot of options and choice in life, just being able to move. And what do I currently do? I, I mean, I'm in med school waiting for match day. I just came back from Japan because you got to use your time wisely because after your fourth year you go into residency and that time is gone. So I just came back from Japan. I'm currently producing some music. I like music. I've been playing instruments for a while, so piano, guitar, and I have written some of my own songs. So I'm like delving back into that hobby. I also like languages, so I'm like studying French and Japanese, continually trying to improve in those because I started learning those years back, and I actually went to Japan, was able to speak some Japanese and refresh a bit. So those kind of what I'm doing currently, but really the main thing is waiting the match, which I'm sure will happen, but you need that confirmation.
And that's so inspiring what you do. How was your Japan trip, if you don't mind sharing?
It's wonderful. I think when you travel, you open yourself up to realizing just how many different ways, society can operate and how many different ways people think and the way different cultures operate. It's always refreshing. I think in the US, we can kind of get caught up in us being the center of the world. I don't agree with that, but I think that there is a large sentiment with a lot of US citizens that they forget that there's so many different other ways to live life. So Japan was great, the food really affordable, the culture very respectful, the city super clean. I was in Tokyo, just to be more specific, city super clean, and I met a lot of great friends and got to improve my Japanese. It was a wonderful time.
Fun, amazing. So, you shared a lot. You shared earlier that you moved a lot when you were a kid. So, how did moving around a lot as a kid shape the way that you view patient care today?
Mm. So one, I think a lot of times when you grow up in one place, it's easy to make the mistake to think that your microcosm is a good representation of the entire world or the country. But just in the US alone, like people are just so different from one town to the next. The beliefs are so different from one state to the next state. Even in two blue states, like you'll have different ways that people move and, different lingos and things like that. So I think the fact that I was able to move around so much and just experience life in different settings, kind of opened my mind up to the realization that I know less than I know less and I will always know less than there is to know, if that makes sense. So I need to keep an open mind and I need to be receptive to new information always. Doesn't mean I just automatically accept it, but I need to be receptive. I need to think critically about everything that I'm seeing, and I need to be open to incorporating new knowledge into my current schema. So I think that applies to patient care, especially when we talk about like cultural humility and being receptive to how different patient populations view healthcare and view different remedies and treatments, down to just how you treat and interact with people every day in the hospital.
Love that. And I love how you kind of like explained how like moving to different places gives you like different mindsets and kind of like makes you more open-minded. I actually moved here to the United States when I was 5, so that was like, a bit.
Glenn.
Yeah, I moved here from India, and so I really didn't have a lot of time like growing up in India. I still like visit like, summer to summer. But I think it's been like over 5 summers since I visited. But yeah, definitely like coming to the US and like, seeing everybody and then, just getting that cultural shock. It's like, oh my gosh, they don't do this here. And so many parts that I just had to adjust for other people can be, that's one thing when you like move around to, from like city to city. But yeah, definitely it does make you open-minded. So thank you for sharing that.
No, of course.
So it's amazing to hear that you want to go into radiology. What inspires you to choose this type of specialty?
Well, I think first and foremost, when you decide what you want to do with your life, it's not always a privilege everyone has to be able to choose something you truly like and enjoy doing. But if you're in that position, the first thing you should consider is just whether or not you like doing that thing, right? And I came into medical school thinking I was going to do something very patient facing, either surgery or primary care, like family medicine. And although I enjoyed some aspects of both of those specialties, I actually just kind of came across radiology unexpectedly. I didn't even know really what it was yeah, until I was in like my second year of med school, where I went to this PBL session, which is a problem-based learning session. It's like a small group where we go over cases. And the leader of that session was a pediatric neuroradiologist. And she encouraged me to, hey, come shadow me this weekend. And at the time, I was convinced that I was going to be a head and neck doctor or an ENT. So I was carrying around this big red ENT textbook. Like I was really enthusiastic about it, mistakenly. But no, but I said, you know what? Why not? Keep an open mind. Somebody invites you to come check something out. And I did. And after that weekend, I was like, that was like the most engaged I'd ever felt in medical school. Being in the reading room, going over cases, talking about the wide range of differential diagnoses that we're picking up on these scans, looking at some of the rare cases in some of these pediatric scans. I was like, this combines like pretty much everything that I like about medical school. And one of those things is I like the breadth, I like the width. I like how many things we know about the human body. And in radiology, you can engage with everything from pretty much head to toe if you want to. So that's how I kind of came across it. And I think what helped me make the decision to pursue it is to consider the other things about my life that I, care about and think are important. I'm a family-oriented person. I really care about the relationships in my life and I want to be present for those. Something that I've thought about for a while is that I know I'm going to be a father someday and I want to be a very present father. I thought about picking between a career in surgery, picking a career in like internal medicine or neurology, and I thought I don't want to sacrifice my ability to be present. And there are varying degrees in medicine to how much you have to prioritize your career in order to make it work and to make it sustainable. And there are different phases of sacrifice. And residency is obviously the most sacrifice. It's like, yeah, your career is first, you have to be there. But even in that, there are degrees. So I had to knock surgery out because I was like, I can't envision myself being present at all during a surgical residency. And I like to sleep and everything. And so I was like, it's either going to be residency or my hobbies or the person I'm with. And I don't want to pick between them. So I had to knock surgery off. And then I just thought, well, radiology is flexible. I really enjoy it. I'm really engaged doing it. The community of people within it, when I'm doing research in that space or going to conferences in that space, they're the type of people I vibe with, right? And community in within the specialty matters too. So you got to consider the types of people that you're going to be working with, and it just all fit for me.
I love how you shared in the beginning. It's a privilege to, be able to make that choice. Not a lot of people able to kind of make that choice. So it's really great. I was talking to one of like this one interviewer today for a college I had an interview for, and like she brought up, well, why did you choose this major? And I was telling her anyone can choose a major, get a job out of it. And it can be interesting, but it has to be meaningful for you to kind of execute and for you to pursue that degree or major. So that is so amazing that you're able to, pick radiology and, have like, balance all your hobbies, your the family that you want to, have one day and your job as well. So yeah.
Mm, mm, great.
So moving into a fun question, do you have any stress relieving hobbies you use when you don't have a lot to do or you aren't having the best day at work?
Okay. I'm going to start off by saying, everybody's going to have bad days. And it'd be weird, especially in medicine, if you weren't having, I'm not even going to say a couple bad days. You should probably have a lot of bad days. It's hard. Med school is hard. Residency is even harder. Being an attending is hard. And I know what to expect, but when you're there, it's always different when you're actually there and really feeling it. So it is important that you recognize how do you come back together for yourself. Whether that's leaning on others, finding an activity, learning how to meditate and stuff. You need to kind of figure that out early on, um, in order to, gain the most benefit and try to really maximize your time in the moment while you're going through this journey. For me personally, like you said, there's like varying things that I'll do, depending on how much time I have. I've always been really into music. You know, I I might have even just been a musician, maybe a music teacher. If I had to pick a different career that wasn't medicine, I probably would have done that and been happy. But, and I'm still happy, just saying, just saying there are other things I could have done and still been happy. And playing music is one of them. So, like I mentioned earlier, I've written some of my own songs. That's like very stress relieving for me because I'm like expressing myself through those songs. And I really enjoy and have fun doing that. It helps me like kind of like unwind. But if I have no time, sometimes just taking a moment to breathe, you know, just thinking like, how do I feel right now? And letting myself feel the emotions. Like, okay, I'm frustrated. I'm sad. I'm tired. And just take the moment to breathe and let that be real. Like, yes, and right now, this 30 seconds or this 1 minute is mine. And I let all my thoughts run wild. And then I come back together and I say, but I can do this. And sometimes that's all I need. Sometimes I need more. And it depends. But I think everybody needs to figure out what works for them.
So in college, how are you able to manage being an athlete along with your studies in medicine? And how do you currently manage your time as a medical student, musician, language enthusiast, and comedian?
Okay, you didn't have to write all that now. But like what I'm saying is, one in college, it's a give and take. I've never been one to say I need to be perfect at something. For me, there's like a good enough bar, right? And if I know I'm going to be stretching myself thin, I have to be okay with just being good enough. And I have to set a standard in each of these departments. Um, I won't ever stretch myself to the point where I'm just being subpar, if that makes sense. So I'm not reaching a standard I think is acceptable. But for instance, I was an athlete in college and I was also in university choir. I was also the founder and president of like a pre-health pathways organization. I was also a community ambassador and an RA. So like, yeah, I was stretched thin. But in order for me to do all of those things, I had to be okay with giving a bit away in each department, right? So I knew I was not going to be a straight A student. Like, and I had to be okay with that or quit a couple of things I was doing and have more time to study, right? So it's just like you have to figure out where your values lie. And for me, I valued the experiences I was having by being a part of those groups and interacting with like those different types of people within those groups. And I valued how it was changing me and helping me develop as a person over getting straight A's. I was okay with getting a B or B plus here and there if it meant I could do all those things, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It definitely does. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, I might need to take your advice when I'm in college. I know I want to like be in like, different clubs and all that, but I'm the type of student who like one straight A's. So, if
Okay.
I take on a lot of stuff, I might have to quit some stuff or
Okay.
find some way to get more hours in my day. But yeah, totally. Thank you for that advice.
Okay. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's about how you want to do it.
Definitely. And how you prioritize your time definitely, comes into that. So, how would you describe your experience applying to medical school and matching into residence?
Well, those are two different things, right? Applying to
Hmm.
medical school was, for what I think, a lot more daunting. Was just because at that point I just knew way less. I knew way less about medicine and what it meant to go on this journey and how to get into medical school. I had to do a lot of research. Studying for the MCAT is the worst. It's not the worst exam you'll take, but just studying for it is the worst because it feels like it's not really related. The reading section and all that stuff, I'm just like, okay, all right. And I had to do that independently while also still being in school because I didn't take the gap years. So I had to study throughout junior year and make sure I had a good enough score before the summer before senior year. So that was, a little more daunting and challenging. But all of this was primarily because the experience was so fresh and so new. Now that I'm on the other side of it in medical school, applying to residency, I kind of know what to expect, if that makes sense. Like, I'm like, okay, like I remember how to interview well. I know what the application process is going to be like. I know how tiring it's going to be. So I'm gearing up. I've got my endurance now. And after everything you go through in medical school, interviewing is like nothing. It's like, I mean, I did 8 weeks of surgery. Like, this is nothing, right? We did 8 weeks of internal medicine. We did all these rotations where we were putting our brains on the line. Really, I felt like I felt like my brain was on fire half the time trying to get all this information in there. And now you're just asking me to have a conversation with another human being about who I am and what I want to do. I can do that. So to me, it feels a lot easier. And I've always been of the opinion of that if you take my application and you decide to invite me to an interview, I'm good after that. I believe in myself. I believe that I'm likable. So I'm not too worried. I'm hoping for great things.
So the match results come out next month, right?
That's
Or
right.
is it what like day do you know?
March 20th.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's like, oh my gosh, I could not wait that long. So typically, when do your interviews end
So my
for?
last interview was actually late January, like on the 26th. Typically, I don't know about typically,
Mhm.
I'm only me and I haven't looked into that, but I think a lot of my friends had their last interview in like early January.
Because I thought it was like you had to wait till like November-ish to like March, which is just like I totally get it. Just I'm like impatient waiting too because I
Trust me,
applied
you
to
won't.
some I applied to some colleges in December and I got accepted to some, but like this really like prestigious college like deferred me. So I was like, now I gotta wait 4 months for a decision that's gonna like affect my future and affect my life if I get it or not. So
Well, hey,
yeah.
get ready for more of that.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
more
going to
to
be the
that.
last time. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So, what is one topic you are extremely passionate about, and why is it relevant in healthcare?
Extremely passionate about nothing. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to be honest and say I've let this kind of fall to the wayside as I've gotten wrapped up in like my responsibilities for med school and the other things I was doing. But before I started going to med school, I have always really cared about representation in medicine. And I say that because representation is deeply tied to race, power, and money in this country. And if you look at low income or POC individuals within the practice of medicine, and you trace it back to the divisive issues that we're having in the country now, you'll see how all of it is so interconnected. If you look at some of the data, you'll see that only 5 point something, 5.5, please fact check any statistic I ever say, but I think it's about 5.5, 5.7% of all physicians in this country are Black. Um, and we all know at this point in time that POC communities and low income communities are less likely to have access to care, less likely to have providers, more likely to have worse or poor health outcomes. Then you also look into the data a bit deeper, you'll find out that POC physicians are the majority of physicians taking care of low income and underserved communities. So if you have this small amount of physicians taking care of this large underserved population, right? And you're not finding ways to either encourage every doctor or expanding healthcare access to all these communities, then it kind of becomes like a band-aid to say, well, now we have to get more representation in medicine. We have to get more people from different backgrounds in medicine to help alleviate these issues because those people are more likely to go back and serve these communities. It's not a permanent solution, but in order to really, you know, I guess fix this issue, we'd have to really restructure the society, like restructure this government, this country fundamentally. Um, it's something that I'm actually thinking about starting a YouTube series on. I want to take some time to educate myself further, get the facts and data right, and make some educational videos about. But I think it's really interesting. I think it's important, and I'm always down to help others who are trying to get into this profession. I'm always down to uplift them.
I love that. And I think it's, of course, really important to have representation in healthcare, treat everyone as you want to be treated. And yeah. And I love how you're thinking of, starting that YouTube series. I would love to watch it sometime if you do.
Well, I will let you know. I'll let you know when
Thank
it
you.
comes out.
Thank you. So, of course, residency and everything that comes after residency. Do you have any future goals that you're currently working toward besides that YouTube educational videos?
So yeah, I should have saved that. Should have saved that. Um, I think I can always fall back on this and say that my future goals is to just be a better physician. So I have to do an intern year, and I'm actually hoping to do that intern year in pediatrics. But if not, then it'll be either a transitional or surgical year. And I just want to be a good physician, which means getting my basics down, getting my common pathologies down, knowing how to manage, knowing how to treat people properly, and becoming a better communicator. I want to be a good doctor, period. And that's something that I can always be working towards. And outside of that, like I just want to be a better person. I just want to always strive to be kind, always strive to be an uplifting and positive person. So I think those things I'm always working on and hoping to never, I guess, lose sight of that.
That again. So, of course, you may have a lot of people who have motivated you throughout the years, but is there someone or a group of people in particular who has motivated you to come this far in your career journey?
Mm. I can't pinpoint a singular person because I take inspiration from everybody. You know, um, it started with my own family. It was ignited by my mother. But as I've gone through, my own life as as young as I am, only 26, I've met so many different people that I find inspiring in many different ways. And every time I come across something like that, it just gives me more fuel. And I think if you're open to looking at life in a positive way and open to growing constantly, then you'll always find inspiration wherever you are. You know, everywhere there are seeds of hope, there are seeds of like enthusiasm and ambition, and you have to just learn how to appreciate the way that everybody around you moves. And I think if you're willing to give people the benefit of the doubt and assume good intentions, you're likely to glean more from them than you would expect.
Definitely agree, and thank you so much for that. And lastly, to wrap things up, do you have any advice for our audience members who may be listening right now, who hope to reach this stage in the future?
Yeah, you got to believe in yourself. And when I say, as corny as that sounds, and it's not, I'm not the first person to say it and all that stuff, you really have to believe in yourself. But when I say that, like that comes with a lot of things. And I'm going to talk about one dimension of that, and that is action. If you truly believe in yourself, then you're going to take action. And I'll give an example. Let's say you want to complete a triathlon, but you're 280 pounds. You're a bit heavier than usual, and this is a very physically demanding activity. If you really believe in yourself and you know that you're capable, then when you say, I want to do a triathlon, you're going to get up that day and you're going to start researching, okay, what would I need? What's the type of training I need to do? What's my ideal weight? What type of exercise program? Like, who do I need to talk to? Are there support resources? Like, if you really believe in yourself, it's going to spur you into action when you want to do something. So I would just say, no matter where you are, just believe in yourself and believe in yourself enough to start taking baby steps, one step at a time, day by day. You can do anything that you really want to. But it starts with you.
Some beautiful advice, Jenna. And thank you so much again for sharing your educational journey and all the work that you put into it. It's been truly so inspiring to hear about your experiences growing up and what you're hoping to do in the future. To everyone tuning in, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Battles and Voices. Your engagement and loyalty mean the world to us. If you enjoy this conversation, then be sure to follow, share, and stay tuned for more episodes of Battles and Voices. We'll see you next time.